I will now call back to order the regular meeting of the Lake Forest Community High School Board of Education meeting for June 10th, 2019. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Zinser?
Here.
Mr. Lane?
Here.
Dr. Nemekis?
Here.
Ms. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Mormon?
Here.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Here.
Mr. Noble?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to start with the President's report. So I have a few brief words to say, but I did want to start out by thanking the students in the audience for us. It's fantastic to see you here the second to the last day of an extended session. Thank you. So recently I had the honor of attending and participating in the 2019 graduation this past Saturday. What a truly amazing and warm event. You know, if you ever wanted to see firsthand what makes LFHS a special place for the community kids to grow, all you need to do is go to our website and watch that video. A really amazing graduation and something that I was thrilled to be a part of. So thank you for everyone, to everyone for their hard work in making the LFHS 2019 graduation the fulfilling and rewarding experience it should be. I'd like to offer congratulations and thanks to the administration, the staff, the grounds, the event coordinators, the teachers, the parents, and community who all came together in high fashion to make that event as special as it should be. Really, truly amazing. I also want to extend the thank yous to everyone who has made my service on this board possible. And not just my service, but the opportunity to attempt to lead aspects of the board. I appreciate that. I see it as an honor. I'm going to do my best while helping us continue to be the very best possible stewards we can be. I want to let everybody know, and whoever might be watching, that as the president, I'm going to work really hard to foster a highly functioning board that has good relationships with all the key stakeholders. Transparency, accountability, and rigor to systems and how we do things are what I'm going to strive for. The filter through which I'm going to help us pursue these things will include and always be in support of our students, community, teachers, staff, administration, as well as my fellow board members, and pretty much in that order. So I thought for this first meeting, that's what I'd open up with the President's report. I look forward to having an ongoing dialogue with everybody, but as each of you have come to expect, it's always going to be fairly brief and to the point. So with that, we're going to move on to the Superintendent's report. Mike?
Which is long-winded. All right. Yeah, so I'd like to begin the Superintendent's report and handing off to Dr. Holland.
And I will be short. I just wanted to thank everyone, personally thank everyone who's participated in making our graduation an awesome experience and event. To our students who graduated and walked across the stage, congratulations again. But we've been planning for graduation since last year's graduation. It takes a lot to plan that day and event, and we always pray for really good weather. And we were fortunate this year, but it's a huge undertaking and a lot of hands are part of it. Our support staff works around the clock to make sure that everything's set up, that everyone is well taken care of during that day. Our teachers are involved, our administration, just a lot of people. But it was a very special event, and thank you to everyone who's been reaching out, commenting about the day, as well as people who watched online have also been reaching out. I also want to thank our past and present board members for all of your support. I hope you felt like Saturday was also a celebration of you and all of the support that you provided to our students and our staff during the past 4 years. So thank you.
I'd like to continue the Superintendent's report by bringing the board and community up to speed on our Facility Oversight Committee work. And I'd like to ask Mr. Noble to chime in. He has participated in these. Unfortunately, Ms. Zinser was not able to attend, but will participate on any number of occasions going forward. Any observations that you might have, I encourage you to share those as well. So This past week, in the past couple weeks, we visited three of our peer schools and then also took time to go to our high school. Each of the districts had very specific things that they were striving to do that were right for their community. One of the things that really jumps out is that every one of these community high schools has a personality that really reflects the needs of the individual community, and that's certainly true in their building improvements. So for Stevenson, they had doubled the size of many of their classrooms by knocking out many walls, which particularly given the fact that they were growing now with some recent developments in the district, they needed to add new wings. And so we saw some of those spaces. They also spent a lot of time and energy on different security features within the building and throughout the building, and then continuous improvement. So they are updating old classrooms as well. I want to show you an example of one of their science labs. There's a couple of things to notice. A, the size of the classroom, and there are also multiple screens around the classroom, meaning that there's no really clear front of the classroom, and they did that very intentionally. So there was an instructional thought that went into how they set these up. They also showed us a typical classroom. Again, you'll notice multiple projectors and screens, a lot of natural light, and a lot of flexible furniture. This is one of their new classrooms, and this is a standard classroom for them going forward. At New Trier, they built something that really looks quite a bit like it, and you'll see from their a video of their new space and also ours in the Commons, an atrium. So 3 stories high, a ton of natural light, but they place a great deal of emphasis on creating common spaces for kids. One of the unique features of New Trier is that students have the run of the building. 10th, 11th, and 12th graders go wherever they please, and any time that they don't have a classroom period. And so those collaborative and social spaces were very important to them. They also have an ongoing need to update old instructional areas. They knocked down 3 of them to build this new facility, but they have work ahead of them as well. And they did brand new technological and art spaces that are, you'll see a video of those as well. So first, the atrium. So seating area down here, and then multiple floors, a ton of natural light. It's very open, very airy. And on each of these floors are seating areas for students to gather. And then in their serving area, this is their cafeteria, but this is also a Spanish stair that they have. It always amazes me how kids will sit on a hard surface and enjoy it. So this area here, I'll show it again. These areas always have kids on them, and it is the darndest thing. And New Trier is no different. And we have one very friendly kid here at the end. Wants to say hello. So they also showed us a couple typical classrooms. They use multiple projection spaces on one walls, but a lot of flexible furniture, different elevations of furniture as well. A back wall that can be written on, and they encourage that. A lot of writable surfaces for them. In Highland Park, they addressed largely infrastructure needs. I'll show you one classroom, but a lot of the work that they did, they spent over $50 million on making sure their HVAC system, they had parts of their building that had never been air conditioned, so they did that. They actually lowered their utility bills despite putting in air conditioning. Lighting, they had 49 different levels throughout the building. They had parts of the building that you just couldn't get to from other parts. They built a new pool, and they also created some space that will be developed later because they wanted the footprint. And this is what their new classroom looks like. LED lights, One of the things that the architects were saying, they wanted windows that would open so they could get fresh air. That's not necessarily an easy thing. They also wanted thermostats that people could adjust within 4 degrees. So for our space, a couple of things when we visited our high school, some of the spaces look really phenomenal. The 2006 work in the orchestra, band, orchestra, and choir spaces, tons of natural light. It faces east. The bright room here does not do that justice. It's a really awesome space. The practice rooms that students have as well as the library as a whole and the commons are terrific places to gather, to study. Highly personalized with a mural from Mark McMahon along one wall. It's another thing that really sticks out is our spaces are very personalized throughout the building. At the end of that, you see places up above where kids can sit largely individually or in pairs. Down below, they typically work in groups, and in this upper area here on the left that you're seeing, this is peer tutoring and also a study area for students. There's some other areas that really need renovation, and it's very obvious. This is a science lab. Old technology you see in the 2 TVs there. The furniture, hard, all facing one direction. Not a ton of natural light and really old casework. Another of the spaces, this is a faculty space. A lot of decluttering that is necessary, but also a great deal of furniture that looks like it came from all over the place. So there's not a lot of uniformity there. And all of these things, one of the things that people talk about when they discuss architecture and workspaces, that everything speaks, whether it be the lighting, the furniture, the air quality, everything speaks to the kids and the adults. This is one of our English spaces. Not quite sure that we know what to do with this. The room sizes are very small. It's going to be difficult to figure out how to, short of a Harry Potter magic trick, how to make these larger. But again, you can see through this that the classroom is really, by necessity, pointed at one particular spot, and you see that over and over again throughout our buildings. The business classrooms in the basement, again, hard furniture, very little natural light, older ceilings, fluorescent, a small classroom as well. And then in the business area, this is Tommy Rowe. I asked him, how high do you think that ceiling is? And he says 7 feet 1, and you can reach up, and you'll see me do that in just a moment. Right here, you can reach up and touch that. These are things that are very, very difficult to fix and just challenges that we see. The small classrooms are largely functions of the old building, the 1936 building. So those are in the basement and on the 3rd floor. Those are the spaces that are the most tired. The spaces that are really phenomenal, they did a really great job in 2006 adding new classrooms as well. So what are the next steps? Over the summer, they'll be looking at life safety assessments. The architects will be in again. We also need to conduct a room use analysis, how many of our spaces are used. So you can look at, can we take a page out of Stevenson's book, for example, and eliminate a wall and double the size of a classroom. Some of our classrooms are about 450 square feet. Stevenson's classrooms, many of them are between 12 and 1,400 square feet, so even by doubling them, we still won't be to the size of those classrooms. We also need to spend time looking at athletic areas, and in particular the West Campus. We have not yet toured this. We've had 4 tours now, about an hour and a half long. My colleagues in the other districts were kind enough to allow us to come in. The superintendent, New Trier, actually walked us around personally throughout our entire tour. But we're not done visiting some of our facilities. Some of the facilities that need the most work are in the basement, in the lower floor here, for example, our transitions program downstairs. Some of you have seen that. That is a particularly needy area. One of the suggestions that came up in the course of the architect spending a couple days in the building, listening to students and staff, was a suggestion, look, don't invest in West Campus. If you're going to invest in something, look downtown Lake Forest, because all of the jobs are there. That's where kids can walk to wherever we're trying to find them places to work. It's a brilliant suggestion. It's one of the reasons that you need to make sure and have time for people to provide you their insights. So that completes the superintendent's report. Ms. Zinser or Mr. Noble, if you'd like to add anything, please do.
Thanks, Mike. So yeah, I got a chance to participate with the tours and the other meetings from the facility perspective, and it's been very enlightening. So I think it's been great. The architecture firm, Perkins & Will, has been exceptional through the process. They have also done a couple different surveys with the students and the teachers. So I think a lot of the input that we're getting is going to help us as we match kind of our strategy direction where we want to be with their reports. And so this is, I think, 18-month process. So we're at the beginning, collecting a lot of good information. So I think it'll be very enlightening in the months coming.
I have one question. It's not lost on me that in our packet of board updates, there's language regarding security and safety. I have no doubt that that is top of mind as you guys are doing the work here. I was surprised not to see it as one of the bullets for us going forward as the things that are important. It was mentioned in one of the schools that was up there. Again, I have no doubt it's on the horizon. Is it just too early to include that in the next steps?
No, it absolutely is one of the things that we think about all the time in laying out the next steps for us. What I was trying to do is say these are the next facilities that we need to visit. One of the things that one of the benefits of doing facility visits is that you get to see different approaches to that, and there are very markedly different approaches that people have. So New Trier, an incredible level of access for students to the entire building, and then Stevenson on the very other end. They have swipe cards for every single door. They know when any individual door is open. They know that, and they've intentionally invested in that over time. So we need to make some decisions about what that could look like for us. Our building, one of the struggles for us, very frankly, is we've got a 1936 building that's been added on to any number of times, and our ability to sequester any part of that is really limited. Without major construction and also without changing the character of the building, because we are, one of the things that I'm most proud of from our students, frankly, is when our kids do artwork, we put it out and it's not protected. It is out for display and it's not defaced in any way. And when you begin to chunk off your building by doors and gates and things of that sort, you begin to change what the feel of the building is. So we need to make some decisions about what our recommendations are for that.
Yeah, and one other thing I'd add, Sally, is the security, HVAC, the temperature control, the lighting, all of that stuff was looked at from every perspective when we're walking in the different buildings. And to Mike's point, the culture was very eye-opening in terms of just how different it is towards what they were doing. And one of the things I noted is you go through Lake Forest and you can see the rooms and you can see kind of the culture and the atmosphere that's there in each room, whether it's dated or new or not. But in some of the other places that we saw, they really lost that. So they became very kind of cleansed, and there was no kind of personality to it. So I think one of the things that we have, which is fantastic, and I think Mike and I think a lot of the people will want to maintain, is a personality to our building and what we have. And I think that won't get lost within it, but it was really interesting to see all that. But yeah, security and all the other things I think that are a topic of today were absolutely always being thought of and being reminded to us by the architecture firm and everyone involved.
And I would add onto that, one of the benefits of going and seeing other buildings is that it challenges your thinking. What we don't want to do is become have any of those be a model for who we want to be. We need to be the best us that we can be. And each of the buildings had a very different personality. Our challenge is, how can we take this, allow it to challenge our thinking, but then make us be even more, a better version of ourselves is what we need to strive to be. Jenny, did you want to jump in there as well?
I was just going to answer the question that you already answered and say that from our first meeting, safety and security have been a topic of conversation. We will be looking at all elements of the building and the educational experience, not just the classrooms and the learning spaces, but the athletic spaces, the performance spaces, and the safety and security throughout. So it's the plan is extensive, and it will take a long time because we're being very careful and very thorough. I unfortunately was out of town the day of the visit, so I missed those, but I have had the luxury of being in some of those buildings. And I do think that it was said very well by John that we are, we have a certain flavor to Lake Forest High School that we don't want to lose, but we also have a very old building that really is not allowing our students the opportunities that their peers have at other schools. So that's why this is a priority right now for the administration and the board.
Okay, well, thank you, Mike, Mr. Superintendent, for that presentation, and everybody else who participated. I do want to make sure that everybody's aware of this. We will be exploring different investment profiles as this master's facility plans comes into play. However, it's important to note that as a district, we have been investing in our school for some time. One of the benefits of doing a good master facilities plan will be that instead of investing in one project at a time that may seem like the urgent project at the moment, but might not be as wisely invested as a long-term investment can be, we will be spending the dollars that we do spend much more wisely and along a continuum and a pathway that just has the building continue to improve in the right manner, in the right strategic way every single time. And so it will yield a better use of the dollars we do invest in the school, and that's very exciting. So with the Superintendent's report now done, I wanted to open up the meeting for public participation. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? Please.
On the security, I know that security is one of the most important things.
Yeah. You project quite well, but we still would like to hear the...
Thank you.
And if you'd like to give us your name and where you live, that'd be, just the town, that'd be great.
Grant Ebner. So, I'm a bit tall. So I know that security is one of the most important things we have in the school. But I think when you're looking at the topic of security, like as Mrs. Sally Davis is pointing out, I think it's definitely a good idea to look at what the students think of anything. For example, you're bringing up how Stevenson has you use your student IDs or cards to open every door. But I was just, from my personal experience at Lake Forest High School, for example, in study halls, for example, we can barely leave our own study halls except to go to the bathroom for 5 minutes. And when you have so much restriction on really what students can do, and I know you're talking about how at New Trier students can really walk around the school with more freedom, that gives someone said they're more adults, that we trust them to be themselves, and we trust them to have some really semblance of maturity. And when you, for example, as I said, locking students in their study halls so you can't leave, and they do check when you leave them, you're not really treating them as young adults, you're treating them as children. And I think people like me, young adults, will act as they are expected. They will act like children, they will be immature. So I think when you're dealing with security, I understand it's really important, but at the same time, you need to look at the cognitive effects on the students. And then when you work on these issues, really, that you need to make sure that they would have perhaps some say in these things. For example, because I think the students would definitely have maybe not that, but some opinion on this. Because I think the students themselves would have a really good idea of what's going on. I'm very surprised in how many people look at these ideas. But that we should work on the ideas that would, instead of restricting necessarily the abilities of the students, helping them reach their full levels of maturity as young adults and propelling them on to college as, I guess, in a way, equals.
That's good, Grant. Thank you. I think that's an excellent point. Mike, the composition of the the Facilities Plan Committee. Do we have students sitting on that?
We do not have a student on there. We allowed for 2 days for the architects to sit down and meet with students, and then there'll be different loop back periods then for the entire staff and the entire student body to weigh in. So the architects were there, and in all call, they went down to the cafeteria. Sometimes the kids engage them, sometimes they engage the kids. But to Grant's point, it is really important to try to get as many voices into the conversation as possible. And what we heard in visiting the different buildings is exactly what Grant was talking about, which is, you know, look, there are pluses and minuses to allowing greater student movement, and sometimes it presents challenges, but there are certain very specific benefits to that people really believe in as well. We do have something of a disadvantage in our building is it does not have as many of these large or varied gathering spaces. We just don't have the square footage. We're even more landlocked in that way than New Trier is. When they designed their building, one of the things that they did there is they intentionally put spaces in there. They didn't know how they're gonna use them yet, and kids quickly filled up those spaces and found uses for them.
Okay, so good. There has been some room for student observations and suggestions. There will be more dialogue windows going open. Grant, you were heard, so thank you. I appreciate your thoughts and would welcome any more either here or in the future. There will be other opportunities to get feedback as this goes along from the students.
Can I add one more thing? In addition to those face-to-face meetings over the 2-day period with the architects, there also was an online questionnaire that the students were able to fill out, and I know many responses came in. And was that open for a full week? A couple weeks. Okay, so, and teachers were also given the opportunity to fill out questionnaires as well. So really, we're looking at getting feedback from everyone. Grant, did you see the questionnaire? Were you able to fill that out? Oh, okay, good. I think that'll be really helpful.
You said you wanted more security and staying inside classrooms. I'm kidding, Grant. We heard you. We heard you loud and clear, and actually you made really, really good points, and I appreciate it. In fact, if any of you guys have any thoughts, that's what we're here for. We'll welcome them now or at any time in the future. Mr. Murray.
So my name is Casey Murray. A few of you may know me already, but I just live in Lake Bluff. And going off what Grant and everyone has been saying about having more open spaces that have more student freedom of movement in as much as possible with safety. And Mr. Zemek, I think it was you who mentioned that in New Trier, was it, that students pretty much have the run of the place? So I think that maybe having a few of the commons areas, so maybe the upper commons or maybe just the general commons area, as sort of a students' union where students are more free to congregate and sort of set the rules for their own usage of that. That would be a valued experience in democracy and self-government that's fairly important in this day and age when there's a lot increase in public apathy towards politics and government.
Another great comment. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your voicing your thoughts and sharing them with us. Okay, now it's time to move into the committee reports. Education Committee.
The Education Committee has meeting dates set, but has not met since the last board meeting.
Thank you, Tom. Finance and Ops Committee.
Similarly, the next Finance and Ops meeting will be Monday, June 24th at 7 a.m. here at West Campus.
Thank you. And Policy Committee, Ted.
The Policy Committee, we met just a few days ago. A couple things came up. First, thank you to Janice and Eileen for doing some research for us. As far as bus reimbursement, that's only available to districts that own their own buses. But otherwise, that's been gone for years and years. So as far as getting half your $800 back, good luck, but you won't get it. Second area was, we were looking at threat assessment and terrorism. That is a new thing that IASB is indicating that, we need to put into our plans. And we're researching, it'll be up tonight for first reading, but we're also looking at whether it's already pretty well covered with policies that we already have in place. That's all I have. Do I hear anybody else?
Okay, thanks. Obviously, a relatively light schedule of committee meetings as we close the school year. Moving on to liaison reports. John, EdRed?
Thanks, Dave. So a couple things on the EdRed. We talked briefly last board meeting around some of the things, but it was a very busy end of the meeting season, or session, I should say, and many of the legislative actions actually got taken care of and passed, and so we're looking for signatures from the governor that will hit a bunch of different things. Two specific bills that I think will affect us in time did not get included, and it's interesting to note, so the district consolidation bill, which was proposed to basically remove 25% minimum of all the school districts in the state of Illinois, that is still something that has a lot of momentum to it and will raise its head probably next year or the year after. So it's something for us to be cognizant of, because it, in all likelihood, could affect our district, that we all of a sudden get merged into 4 or 5 other districts. And so it's something to, again, for us to be aware of and understand its implications potentially. The property tax freeze, which was originally tagged to the graduated tax, that was passed, and that is an amendment that's hitting the Constitution, so there'll be a referendum on that vote in the fall, but the property tax freeze was removed. So that is not happening, so that would have to come back next year in its own bill or tagged to something else. But that has implications to our financial model that we use currently. And basically, it's very strict restrictions on what we can or cannot increase in terms of our incremental property tax. So any type of increase in the future might have to actually, they almost all would have to be referendums. So it's something we'll have to look at, and I think Jen is prepared clearly to adjust the model if need be, and we'll see how that comes out next year in terms of our dealings and what we do. One specific one that is of note is the 6% salary cap for the teacher's pension was reinstated and signed actually, I believe, yesterday or Friday, whatever it was, or earlier today, I can't remember. And then there's a few others that hits some of the pensions and those things. I won't go into too much of the details, but then there are a handful of other bills that are passed, both in the Senate and the House, that are mentioned in my notes, that are going to need to be signed by the governor. It looks like his intention will be to sign all those bills that passed. So there's a lot that will be coming our way. A couple things to note in terms of EdRed specifically as an organization that is worth mentioning. Their efforts seem to be that they are looking to get more involved as an organization to set a little bit better policy standard, to give us a little better guidance to see how we wish or choose to get involved and whether we use and work with them or other districts, but looking at something that we might be coming back to in the fall to saying, do we want to take some positions on some specific issues? It's been extremely reactive in nature in the way they worked. So addressing and talking to them, my feeling was if we could be more proactive in some of the policy things, that could be a benefit to us as well as other school districts in communicating to the legislators what we'd like to see actually happen. So that is my desire, and as I informed them, I said I am one of 7, and so unless we are voting on a motion as a board, my vote individually doesn't really matter. So it's what we speak as a collective group, and whether we win or lose a vote internally 4-3 or 7-0, we will act going forward as that vote determines. And so for my feeling to them is that would be better interest for them to act in that behavior to get us on board with the bigger policy issues, to direct the legislation in a proper direction that would benefit not just us, but a whole bunch of districts that are very similar to us. So that's about it.
Thank you. A lot of legislation occurred this year in the government, and the new policies and ways of working that EdRed's contemplating would be a a big move, perhaps in the right direction, so let's see. Ted, I do want to offer you the opportunity, just in case you did want to add anything for NSSED.
Just briefly, first I'd like to thank Dr. Holland and Jenny Sturpin for their keeping it a priority to use the least restrictive environment for the kids in our programs. As a result, there are 3 kids at NSSED. The rest have been brought back to the district, with the exception of some kids that are in specialized programs. So, but it's been a lot of effort on Dr. Holland's behalf and Jenny Sturpin to really, get these kids back in the fold. So we haven't met since our last meeting, so that's all I have. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, I would agree. We're all very proud of the work that Dr. Holland and the team at Lake Forest High School are doing to make sure that all our kids are getting instruction at the high school as much as possible. So with that, we're going to move on to the action items. First action item is the approval of ECRA contract renewal through June 2020 in the amount of $36,900. May I have a motion to approve the ECRA contract renewal through June 2020 in the amount of $36,900?
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the ECRA contract renewal through June 2020 in the amount of $36,900.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, the past board policy was that at that point, we would open up the action item for any discussion. Is there any discussion on this action item before we engage in a roll call vote? All right, seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Dr. Nemkes?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The second item is the CLIC Workers' Compensation Contract Renewal. May I have a motion to approve the CLIC Workers' Compensation Contract Renewal in the amount of $124,707?
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the CLIC Workers' Compensation Contract Renewal in the amount of $124,707.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any conversation on this action item? Okay, barring none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Nemkes?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next action item, CLIC Liability Insurance Contract. May I have a motion to approve the CLIC Liability Insurance Contract renewal in the amount of $93,665?
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the CLIC Liability Insurance Contract Renewal in the amount of $93,665.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any conversation here? Okay, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Dr. Nemkes?
Aye.
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next action item, may I have a motion to approve the science table bid in the amount of $28,173?
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the science table bid in the amount of $28,173.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the science table bid?
Is this just one?
I
table?
would like to just point out that this was a grant funded by the Lake Forest High School Foundation.
And how many, our esteemed colleague, Mr. Mormon, wants to know, is it one science table or multiple science tables?
It's multiple science tables. It actually will equip 3 science rooms. There were 2 rooms equipped a year ago, compliments of the High School Foundation. And I wouldn't be surprised if the foundation is approached one more time by the science department.
These are awesome tables, by the way.
That's great. You know, Jenny is our liaison to the foundation, and they do fantastic work. I think for those of you going on the facilities tours, you will see an abundance of really good projects that the foundation has funded for us. So a fantastic enabler of great projects for us, which is awesome, which we really appreciate. So,
Can I ask you a quick question for John? I'm assuming the tables are the same as the previous ones?
They had the exact same specifications. We did need to go to public bid for them, so we did them to match. It actually is a different company providing them, but they should match the existing.
Yeah, I was just amazed at the spread of the bids, because you'd think there's not that much margin in a science table, but apparently there is.
for some companies. Okay, thank you. Any other commentary or questions? Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Zinzer?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Dr. Nemekis?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next action item, approval of Administrator 2019-2020 compensation. May I have a motion to approve the Administrator 2019 to 2020 compensation?
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the Administrator 2019-2020 compensation plan.
Second.
Thank you. Any conversation or commentary here? Okay, seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Ms. Zinzer?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Dr. Nemekis?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Approval of the Whipple Consulting one-year contract. May I have a motion to approve the Whipple Consulting one-year contract?
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the Whipple Consulting one-year contract.
Second.
Any discussion or conversation?
I would just like to say that I think it's one of the most valuable contacts that we have in the school district, that Ann has done phenomenal work for ourselves, District 67, and the city over the years, and I really think she's indispensable as a chief of staff for this institution. It makes it very easy for me to choose how to vote on this issue.
Excellent. That was very well said. Good job. Thank you. I know we all feel that way. We're lucky and fortunate to have Ann working with us. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Nemekis?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Ms. Zinzer?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the LFHS SSA 2018 to 2022 contract?
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the LFHS SSA 2018 to 2022 contract.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or commentary?
I have a comment.
Please.
So I had the privilege of sitting as the board representative during the negotiation of this first collective bargaining agreement with the LFEA support staff union. And I somehow thought Bridget Murphy would be here. I want to say thank you to the members of the SSA who came and ate a lot of pizza with us and had a lot of difficult conversations. I am very honored that I had the opportunity to get to know you somewhat better, to understand your concerns, and I hope that you found it as meaningful and as satisfying as I did. So I'm very grateful for your service to our students in particular, but I'm grateful for the time that you put into it, and I'm really proud of the work we did together. Oh, I'm not done. I would also, I also need to take a moment to say that all of the folks who worked on the contract on behalf of the administration, Rebecca Jenkins, Jennifer Hermes, Allison Stempian, and Brittany Tardis, did a phenomenal job. One of the things that we don't get to see is our administration staff in their day-to-day activities, and it was also a pleasure and a privilege to watch them navigate difficult conversations and come up with some really innovative and really rewarding, I think, solutions for the support staff. So thank you for your time. It was a lot of late nights, especially for people who have to drive all the way to Crystal Lake at night, but you guys were unfailingly professional and collaborative and creative, and I appreciate all of your efforts.
And I would only add to that fine list of participants, our fellow board member, Ms. Sally Davis, for doing a lot of work to support everybody involved in this process, and it's truly impressive how much you support everybody around you to go to very successful conclusions, so thank you as well. Having said that, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Dr. Nemekis?
Aye.
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to approve the 3-year internet service provider contract?
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the 3-year internet service provider contract.
Second.
Any questions or commentary here?
I have one question, Jordan. In your recommendation, which I thought made perfect sense and offered us better service at a lower price, which apparently is one of the things you often deliver to us, I appreciate that. There was reference to how there had been an upgrade to the wiring at Deer Path, and how they are also part of this contract as part of our shared services arrangement, and this will be particularly beneficial to them in terms of speed. I wondered if you could tell me if the high school, because we have, as I understand, a more patchy digital infrastructure, will be less, it will be less beneficial to us, and if this is something, again, piggybacking on our conversation about facilities, that needs to be addressed.
Sure. So what you're actually voting on here is just for the high school portion of it. So the entire connectivity you're voting on is 2 gigabits internet connection for the high school. So the advantage came in that District 67 had a phone contract that was up last year. So one of the things we made a conscious effort to do was to get a second service provider to pull fiber into our network. So we went with AT&T in District 67, so they pulled the infrastructure into Deer Path, which made this bid significantly more competitive, or not, I shouldn't say that, this set of pricing, significantly more competitive for the high school. So the infrastructure is the infrastructure we want in the high school, and will add significantly to our ability to serve the programs.
Thanks, perfect.
Jordan, one quick question. I know you settled on the sweet spot at 2 gigabyte, right? But and just from my standpoint, you know, obviously looking to go up to the 3 gigabyte, there's a different provider that would provide a lower monthly fee. Is that something that really is something in the 36 months of the contract you don't foresee us ever moving up to that speed, because the 2 is going to be such an upgrade that we have plenty of bandwidth? So
Yeah, so 2 represents 5 times our current speed, so that's plenty of room to grow. Were we to move past 2, there's also infrastructure concerns we have. So our firewalls are set to update in my plan 2 years from now. So our current firewall would limit us to the 2 gigabit speed.
Great.
I think in my estimation, it's more than sufficient for us.
Physics major, we're okay. We speak the language.
Thank you.
Jordan, thank you. You're doing great work, too. Really appreciate you helping bring us far forward into the future, so thank you.
Add a savings.
Even better. Right. Isn't that awesome? Mm-hmm. Okay. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Dr. Nemekis?
Aye.
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of Press Issue 100 and 5-year updates as presented?
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the first reading of Press Issue 100 and the 5-year updates as presented.
Second?
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, can we move into a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Dr. Nemekis?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Ms. Sinzer?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Human Resources Report as presented?
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the Human Resources Report as presented.
Second.
Okay, any questions or commentary? All right, seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Dr. Nemekis?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Ms. Sinzer?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to the consent agenda, and for the students in the room, I did want to let you guys know, especially since there's an interest in government, which is awesome. We have a lot of conversations that occur prior to this open session where we deal with issues that are sensitive or issues where we have longer discussions and whatnot behind many of these action items. So I just wanted to let you know that although we're sitting here voting and talking about things, there has often been a lot of conversation that led to each of these prior to coming here tonight to vote for them. Just wanted you to understand how that works. See me after, if that's okay. I think the public commentaries, yeah. Okay, cool. I'll see you at the end of the session, Casey. The consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items, including approval of disbursements, payrolls, and financial statements for April 2019, approval of budget transfers, minutes of a regular meeting and workshop, May 13th, 2019, minutes of an executive session, May 13th, 2019, disposal of audio recordings, June 12, 2017.
I move that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or commentary on any of those consent agenda items?
I have one. Jen, can you explain the mechanism and the reason behind the approval of the budget transfers?
Sure. The board approves the budget annually. We have the ability to transfer among funds up to 10% of any aggregate fund. Instead of bringing those to you through the year as onesie twosies, we collect them all year. These are budget transfers that may be made between like a supply account to a professional development account. We aggregate them all, bring them to you here at the end of the year to make our final changes.
Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Sinzer?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Mormon?
Aye.
Dr. Nemekis?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. We had 3 FOIA requests they were from Major Robert Stevenson, Government, status complete. Illinois Department of Employment Security, Government, status complete. Tim Shemp, Government, status complete. I also have a few announcements. Tomorrow, Tuesday, June 11th, is the last day of school for Lake Forest High School. June 12th is, just in case any of you need it, is exam makeups and teacher work day. And we, as a board, will be back here on Monday, July 15th for the Board of Education meeting at 7 p.m. right here in this room. Those are our announcements, so now may I have a motion to adjourn the Lake Forest Community High School Board meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
3 of them, which is awesome. May I have a voice vote, please? Aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.